Sorry. David, welcome to my channel. I hope you are well there in Los Angeles, and thank you for accepting this invitation.
Well, it's great to be here, Cesar. And I'm actually in Arizona. I'm not in Los Angeles. I live in the mountains in northern Arizona.
Ah, you are not anymore in Los Angeles now.
No, I've always lived in Arizona.
Ah, okay. Perfect. Because I understood by the email that you are in Los Angeles, but now I see that you are in Arizona. Okay. So, David, how did you discover that you received messages from the Arcturian extraterrestrial race?
I have been a channel now for about 26 years, and my wife and I went on a trip to the Grand Canyon, which there are two sections to the Grand Canyon, the South Rim and the North Rim. And we went to the North Rim, which is more isolated. And when we were looking at the canyon in a very beautiful and isolated place, I suddenly received messages and connections with the Arcturians.
I see. And how can you be sure that these messages are from the Arcturians and not from other entities?
Well, that's a good question. And some of it has to be on faith. And the other is what my wife has told me, which is that you are bringing forth information that you do not know in your normal consciousness. I was having access to information about different aspects of the Arcturian civilization and also different spiritual technologies which were not in my normal consciousness. So I can only say that the information I was receiving was different and more advanced than what my normal thinking is or was.
Oh, I see. And what is the basic difference between the human race and the Arcturians?
The basic difference is that they are on the fifth dimension and we are on the third dimension. I will have to explain the difference. The fifth dimension is beyond duality. The fifth dimension is more unity, as opposed to what we have here on the third dimension, which is polarization, duality. On the fifth dimension, time is circular. On the third dimension, time is linear. On the fifth dimension, there are not lower emotions such as jealousy and hatred and competition. But on the fifth dimension, there are only higher feelings of love, compassion, and feelings of cosmic unity. This is a brief description, but not inclusive of the difference between these two dimensions. We are trying, and the Arcturians are trying to help us evolve into fifth dimensional beings.
I see. And how did your learning with Native Americans and Kabbalah influence your work?
I've been a student of the Kabbalah or Kabbalah for at least 40 years. And I have a special interest in biblical and classical Hebrew and the tree of life. And the tree of life is a symbol for cosmic energy and cosmic evolution. The Arcturians say that much of the teachings of the Kabbalah that is related to the tree of life is also galactic and cosmic. They use some of the teachings of the tree of life in their teachings. Also, I live in Arizona, which there are many native peoples living in Arizona. And Arizona is in the Southwest, and that you could feel very strongly the native people's energies. One of the main teachings that the Arcturians gave in their channeling to me is the concept called the sacred triangle, which is the unity of three spiritual practices or three.
Yeah, I was going to ask you this after, but Okay, yeah.
The first is what they call galactic spirituality, which is based on we on Earth are part of a galactic group. They say there are approximately 5,000 civilizations in our galaxy. We are one of 5,000. Remember, there are over 200 billion stars in our galaxy, and most astronomers now agree that each star system has a planet. So you could imagine there are over 200 billion planets. So it's not surprising that there are other civilizations. But also, the second part is the native teachings and native spirituality, because the native peoples know how to communicate with the earth. The native peoples feel the earth is a living spirit, and that
Yeah.
we are abusing the earth, and part of our planetary crisis is the destruction of our habitat. In fact, we are now in what is called the sixth mass extinction, and I will explain that later if you're interested. So that is
Yes, of course.
and the third part of this is what's called the mystical religions, including Kabbalah, including mystical Christianity, including mystical Hinduism, including mystical Islam. And you see that when you go to the higher mystical parts of the religions, they all are in unity. They all are speaking of the same unity. And the Arcturians say that we have to use all three of these sides of the sacred triangle to heal the earth. We are in a planetary crisis that threatens the whole biosphere, and we as humans are also threatened for extinction if we do not change.
I see. You are the author of 15 books. In your first book, Connecting with the Arcturians, you talk about this sacred triangle of three forces that we explain now that must be united for the planetary healing. So can you explain this fifth dimension and why do you say that the planet Earth is moving to the fifth dimension?
Well, we are trying to move the planet to the fifth dimension, and we are trying to ascend. Ascend is the word that we use to describe the ability to go into the higher fifth dimension. Some people have described the fifth dimension as the Garden of Eden in traditional biblical terminology. Some people have called it the heavenly gates or the heavenly cities, but the Arcturians call it the fifth dimension. And we are trying to use the energy, because the Arcturians are fifth dimensional, to raise our vibration. And it's a complicated spiritual, technological thing that I'll be happy to explain, but it will take a little more time than we have today. Basically, I
Okay.
want to say that there are three examples of beings that have gone into the fifth dimension, and that'll give your listeners an idea. The first example is Enoch in the Bible, who ascended into the fifth dimension. The second is Elijah, and the third is Jesus, who ascended into the fifth dimension. And I believe that one of the main teachings of Jesus was to teach us how we can go into the fifth dimension. In fact, in the New Testament, he talks a little bit about, or the apostles talk about his going into the fifth dimension, and it's called in English the Transfiguration, where he went
Yeah.
up on a mountain and he was in his light body. And the light body is our fifth dimensional body.
I see. And what is the relationship between the Arcturians, Pleiadians, and the fifth dimension? What kind of relationship is this one?
The Arcturians,
They just live in this dimension?
yeah, well, the Arcturians and the Pleiadians are in the fifth dimension. The Arcturians do not have exactly the same human form that we do, but the Pleiadians are human, and they have the same human form. The Pleiadians were on the third dimension, and they were able to ascend their entire planet into the fifth dimension. So now it is possible, but because of the darkness, because of the densities, because of the polarizations, because of the destructions of the biosphere. This planet Earth is not ready to go into the fifth dimension, but we are trying through the Arcturians and through other masters like the Pleiadians to raise the consciousness of the planet so that we can bring the whole planet into the fifth dimension. But this is a huge job. And the Arcturians have the mission of helping us and teaching us about the fifth dimension.
I see. In your books, you talk about biorelativity, the planetary cities of light, and the Arcturian tree of life that together form a new technology for Earth healing. Can you start by explaining what is biorelativity, planetary cities of light, and the last one, the Arcturian tree of life, and of course, this new technology for Earth healing?
Okay, well, I'll try to do it as clearly as I can. These are all terms that are part of the new Arcturian spiritual technology to heal the Earth and help raise the Earth to a higher vibration. Biorelativity is the ability to telepathically communicate with the spirit of the Earth. This is something that the Native Americans, especially in the United States, but in Native peoples all throughout the world, have been doing. For example,
and do they need like ayahuasca or other substances to reach the spirit of the Mother Earth?
No.
Or just naturally?
No, I mean, people can use ayahuasca if they wanted to, but no. For example, the Native Americans use the medicine wheel. The Hopi Indians in northern Arizona, or near where I live, they have rain dances and they have special ceremonies. They could go into teepees. There's many different ways, but we are teaching group meditation to connect with the spirit of the Earth. The Earth, and the basic teaching is that the Earth is a living spiritual being. I know that may be controversial, but the Earth is.
No, actually, I truly believe in that, and I can feel it, and I can connect with that, yes.
Right, and the Native Americans.
But not everybody.
Yeah, but the Native Americans say the Earth is our mother. And the problem is we have lost our connection to our mother. We're not treating our mother with respect.
Yeah.
So the biorelativity is the ability to connect telepathically and try to talk to the Earth. For example, the best example would be rain dance. If you are in a drought and say you got together in a circle and you all started meditating and you started thinking, oh, I would like to connect with the Earth. Please, Mother Earth, bring rain to my area. Now, that's an example of biorelativity. But now
I see.
We are in a period of end times where there are dramatic changes in the Earth. And some of these dramatic changes include, for example, earthquakes, storms, cyclones, and many other volcanic eruptions. And so we would use biorelativity to ask the Earth to modify and lessen the intensity of storms so many people will not die.
Fantastic. And what about the planetary cities of light?
The Arcturians say that the change that we need for this planet is not going to come from the world governments, and that the real change is going to come from the ground, from the people like you and I who are wanting to raise the consciousness. And the first thing that they're suggesting is that we create small sacred neighborhoods, and that we try to make these sacred neighborhoods fifth dimensional. So they have a special activation ceremony where we bury crystals on the 4 areas around the city. And then we put a white light around the city, and we try to raise the consciousness of the city or neighborhood so that we are working with higher fifth dimensional energy. Right
Now we're going to need it a lot because of the 5G.
Well, the 5G is just one thing. There's the coronavirus is another thing, and there's lots of violence going on. But right now in my project, which is www.groupof40.com, which is our Arcturian meditation group, I have over 45 planetary cities of light around the world. including
Wow.
there's about 6 or 8 of them in Spain, in Barcelona, in San Pere de Ribes, which is a suburb of Barcelona, in Montserrat, but then I have them also in Brazil, which I know Brazil also speaks Portuguese. We have
Yeah, with Carla Varela, yeah? Our friend Carla Varela.
But we have over 12 cities of light. The Brazilian people have really responded very much to this project, and we've created cities of light in northern Brazil, in central Brazil, near São Paulo, in Rio de Janeiro, and I'm trying to think of some other cities. I can't pronounce the names because I don't speak Portuguese, but there are many cities of light there. We have cities of light in Argentina. We have cities of light in Germany and Switzerland. So we are trying to raise the consciousness of the planet through establishing these cities of light, and then we have a network in which we connect. So that's one idea. Now, the tree of life is the other thing you asked me about, and
Yes, exactly.
that is very complicated. But I want to say it is based on the Kabbalah, where there are 10 energies of the God, of the Creator. And I will just talk about 2 of them today because it's very difficult.
Yes.
The first one is the energy of judgment, and the second is the energy of compassion. And these are 2 aspects of God. And I will tell you that in the Old Testament, primarily we focus on God as judgment. In the New Testament, I think God is more of compassion. But basically, if we allow the world and everybody to use the planet and use the resources of the planet without control, then there's total destruction. And that's what you're seeing now. You're seeing destruction of the forest, destruction of the ocean. So the Arcturians say that to balance the free will and compassion, you have to have judgment. You have to have a criticalness. There has to be consequences. And that's what is going on now, Cesar. We're going through a period
Yes.
of judgment where the oceans or may respond because the oceans are getting warmer, and then there's more tornadoes and there's more cyclones, or there could be more earthquakes. The earth then will respond with judgment if everything is too free and too understanding. So we try to balance judgment with the understanding and compassion. The center of the tree of life is what I call the messianic light. And we are all hoping for a messianic intervention. The messianic intervention is often represented by Jesus, where there will be a savior that comes to the planet. And the idea of the messianic intervention, which is the center of the tree of life, is that a higher being will come to this planet and make everybody go into higher consciousness and change our ways. Now, this would be a
Do you
miracle.
believe in that theory? Do you believe that someone will come and help people, the human race, to rise their vibration?
Yes, I do believe it because we need it. But in order,
Yeah, that's for sure.
but in order for that to happen, there has to be preparation. One of the
Yeah.
things in the Kabbalah is that in order for the Messiah to come, there must be a certain number of righteous people who are in alignment with the Messiah, who are in alignment with higher consciousness. And therefore, this is why we're seeking to raise people's consciousness. The Messiah energy cannot come if everybody is so low they don't understand and accept the higher light.
I see. The last question. How can ordinary people connect with Arcturians and receive messages and healing?
Well, there are several ways to connect. To be able to connect with the Arcturians, you have to go into what I call an altered state of consciousness. I also call this the trance state. So I'm a student of psychology. I'm a student of hypnosis and of hypnotherapy. And the idea is that we have altered states of consciousness. And you mentioned earlier ayahuasca. So
Yes.
the beauty of ayahuasca or mushrooms or any other, say, medicinal psychedelic drug is that it puts you in an altered state of consciousness.
Yes.
Now,
Expand the consciousness.
exactly.
Expansion of the consciousness.
And in order to connect with the Arcturians, you have to go into an expanded state of consciousness. You can do this either through meditation. You can go to sacred places. I'm sure you have sacred places in Portugal.
Yes, we have like stone circles and more things. Yes. We
And
have different portals in Portugal.
exactly. And then I think there was a famous a vision that happened. Isn't that Fatima?
Yes.
That,
It's a portal. Yes. It's a huge portal. Yes.
so what I recommend is that people go to these portals, and then you can feel higher energy. You can feel fifth dimensional energy, and then you can connect. But you have to be in alignment with the Arcturians. You don't necessarily have to connect with the Arcturians, though. You could connect with other spirit guides and teachers, such as
Yes, of
Mother
course.
Mary,
Yeah.
Jesus, Archangel energy. So I recommend going to these sacred places, and then I recommend putting yourself in a trance state. That means that we would help you to go into an altered state without psychedelics. You can do it with
Yeah.
psychedelics, but I teach methods of how to get into an altered state of consciousness using techniques that are related to hypnotherapy.
I see. Interesting, very interesting. Because I've learned with the Mayan people, how to. Also, I learned techniques that I don't need to take anything to change my consciousness and expand my consciousness and to reach other dimensions. So
Well,
we don't use substances either.
yeah, but
We have techniques. Yeah.
exactly. But the Mayans were very advanced in many levels. They were very advanced in astronomy. They were very advanced in sacred geometry, and they had very
Yes. Light language.
yeah, light language. But there were lower energies among the Mayans too, because some of the lower Mayans were doing human sacrifice. That's
Yeah.
terrible. But you
I
know,
think it was more the degenerated Mayan.
the degenerate. Well, that's the subject of another lecture. But anyway, the
Yes.
Mayans were very advanced, and in some ways they were as advanced as the Europeans were, and more advanced, especially when it came to astronomy and understanding our galaxy and understanding sacred geometry. They were brilliant.
And time.
And time, that's right. They had a sense of time. Uh, and they were talking to spirits too. They were talking to spirits in other dimensions. Quetzalcoatl, I think,
Yes.
was their main spirit guide, who was from another dimension.
Yeah, truly. Um, so, uh, how can we stay with you, connected with you, and how can people connect with you and with your groups here in Portugal? If anyone is interested in learning about the new Arcturian technologies and biorelativity,
Well, first of all,
has here in Portugal the person who was coordinator in Brazil and who is giving sessions and courses on this technology, Carla Varela, actually, who was already guest on my channel and connected David and me for this interview. So how can people also connect with you and your groups? Through Carla
okay,
or
well,
in another way?
well, you can connect with Carla. I don't have her email address right here, but the other thing is I have one of my books has just been published in Portuguese, connecting with the Arcturians. I don't know how to say it in Portugal, so
Conectando com os Arcturianos.
right. And there is uh, uh, a, a publisher in Rio de Janeiro who has made this book available, and I believe that the book is also available in Portuguese in Portugal. But
Oh, great.
yeah. And my other books, I have my book, Conectando con los Arcturianos, is available in Spanish. So I would,
Okay.
many of you could probably read Spanish if you could speak Portugal because they're so close.
Yeah, Portuguese people, they understand Spanish very easily.
And then also, I have a website, which is www.groupof40.com. That's GROUPOFFORTY.com. And my email address is davidmiller@groupof40.com. Now, Carla has all this information, but we have over 800 or 900 members around the planet. And we all are working to understand and raise the consciousness of the planet. And I want to do one final thing before we leave, Cesar, because
Yes.
this is very exciting to be able to talk with you. One of the basic teachings of the Arcturians is that we are in an evolutionary crisis. That means that change in the evolution of humanity is necessary. And they are telling me that Homo sapien, which is what the name of our species is not the last species of our race, but there is a more advanced species, and they call this the Omega Man woman. And
Wow.
the Omega Man woman is a species more advanced than Homo sapien, and this is a species that is related to the fifth dimension, and who understands fifth dimensional consciousness, and understands the power spots, understands the portals in Portugal, understands the portals in Spain, and understands the planetary cities of light. So we are moving.
So you're talking about people that have already expanded consciousness, is that?
Yeah, exactly. And this is the next step in our evolution, and we have to work together to bring forth the conditions for the evolution of humanity. It's a crisis, and we have to move people to the higher dimension because this planet is threatened by mass extinction, and we are only 1/3 of the way through the sixth mass extinction. 1/3 of the way, and it's really a great crisis. And the Arcturians are providing us assistance and new spiritual technology to help us overcome this crisis and move to higher dimensional thinking.
So thank you to you, David, and to the Arcturians. It's been amazing talking to you, and I hope we can see each other soon or talk with each other soon and explain even better some of the concepts of your so many books, and also to have your image next time.
Okay, yeah, very good. And one other thing, all my books are available on Amazon.com.
Oh, great.
Yeah, if you put my name in David K. Miller, you'll on Amazon, you'll get all my books, including some in Spanish and hopefully the ones in Portuguese. I don't know, but I hope it is also available. And let me.
Anyway, I'm going to put all the informations about Carla, about you at the end below the video so people can reach you. And the ones that are interested in connecting with this type of work, with the Arcturians, and to work for the good of all, and also for the planet, I'm sure they will try to reach you and to reach Carla too here in Portugal. So we can all together, we can expand our consciousness like the people from this movie Avatar. So we are connected.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And blessings to all your star seeds in Portugal. And I send you all my love and blessings.
Thank you so much, David, for your amazing work, and hope to see you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.